Hi everyone. What I want to talk to you about tonight is sharing and explaining your disability to children and youth. What I want to share with you are the things that I've learned as children have talked to me about my disability when I attend the swimming physiotherapy. I attend water-based physiotherapy 5 nights a week. The time slot for the pool is immediately after the children's swimming lesson. So there's no lack of young children aged about age 3 to age 8 or 9 in the building. So what I want to share with you is the approach that I take. I'm willing to be open with the children, but I realize they're not looking for every last detail about what's going on in my life. So I want to help you equip yourself if a child asks you about your disability, and help you think through how you would answer and explain yourself. The first lesson I've learned is to let the child lead the discussion. You can often see by a child's body language, as well as where they're looking at and what they are saying, to find out what they are interested in and what they're wanting you to talk about. A child doesn't need to know, nor is a child ready to learn everything you know about the disability. When you were in grade kindergarten and grade 1, you learned very basic math and reading skills, such as learning your letters and numbers. As you moved on into grade 2 and 3 and higher up into high school, you built upon this knowledge. A child may not have had much exposure in their life to someone who's using crutches or to someone who uses an electric wheelchair. You may be laying a foundation that gets built upon over time. So it's really important to focus in on the areas that a child is interested in. Ask probing questions to a child, like what interests you, or what are you looking at? You could also say, may I share my electric wheelchair and tell you about it? The conversation will match their interests, and if you have a little bit of practice, you can build it on what a child already has experienced. An electric wheelchair has a joystick to control it when you aren't a quadriplegic. You could relate the joystick of an electric wheelchair to a gaming system controller. And this is something that a child will be able to understand. If your wheelchair has lights on it, you could also relate to the lights being what their family would use if they went camping or the power failed. So you could think through in advance what it is that's you're dealing with that could be related in childlike terms or in their life experience so far. The second thing is to use vocabulary that matches what a child is at in their cognitive learning development. So it's appropriate for me to say to a 3-year-old, I have a really bad boo-boo here, and point to my hips. With a child that's 8 to 10 years old, I would be asking them, do you know what a hip is? Point to it, and then explain that my hip wore out. Some children may start to become worried or crying, and it's okay to say something like, the doctors are helping me, to assure the child that you're getting the care that you need. The third point that I've learned is not to underestimate a child's ability to grasp technology. I've had children teach me about the solar panels on my home, and they were spot on. When I later spoke with their parents, they said the child was interested in it, and as they drove by different homes with solar panels on them, they explained how they worked to the child, and he was repeating the knowledge gained back to me. So I would not underestimate a child's ability to understand what an electric wheelchair is and its purpose for you. You could also relate an electric wheelchair to an electric automobile or perhaps a robot. The fourth point is relate your disability to the world. So in their world, a hip replacement may have already occurred in the life of a grandparent. Maybe it was a knee replacement that was necessary. So you may be able to ask their parent or guardian if a grandfather or grandmother had hip replacement, and then ask the parent to relate that's the same thing you're going through. Again, this depends on what your specific ailment is. With me having hip and knee challenges, this is what I can do and relate to and help a child understand. The fifth thing I've learned is that I would only talk to children in groups, like if a bunch of them came in after their swimming lesson, or when the child is with their parent or guardian. I've actually had numerous favorable feedback with parents or grandparents that are taking their child or grandchild for their swimming lesson when I've talked about my disability, the wheelchair, and using the wheelchair as a way to walk. It's safe to talk to a child when you're in a group setting and when their parent and guardian is there. But I do want to caution you that sharing about your electric wheelchair should only need to take 2 to 3 minutes. Then the child will be ready to move on. It's a different conversation than what you would be having with your peers about your healthcare treatment and the in-depth details that you'd go over with a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. The sixth thing I've learned is to involve the children in your disability. In the context of a swimming pool, a child could easily hold the door open for you to go through, either while using crutches or your electric wheelchair. Another way to involve a child in your disability is by having them pick up a piece of clothing, like a sock, if it fell onto the floor. Children by nature are inquisitive, and you're helping them learn about the world around them as they do these small things to help you in practical ways. My 7th point is not to use a child for emotional support. The conversation you should have with a child should be similar to show and tell at school. You would partly present your wheelchair to the child and then give time to answer questions they have, or if they want to sit into it. For emotional support, you should be talking to other adults, your friends, family members, or online support groups that you've joined. Finally, the 8th thing that I've learned is to be, if you're willing to put yourself out there, it lays the foundation for when one of their friends needs the use of a wheelchair or crutches. And what I mean by this is to encourage you that as you share your own journey, you're helping a child not tease or bully another classmate if they begin needing a wheelchair or crutches. You're helping lay a foundation. It involves lots of patience and lots of listening. This is something that I enjoy. I really enjoy the time when I'm with the youth in the pool, playing basketball, playing catch, diving for the rings, or whatever activity they want to do while I stretch and do my physiotherapy. Investing in the lives of the next generation is really important. It does take some getting used to sharing your story, sharing what you're going through. There is a rewarding capacity to it. I've given you lots to think about, and I just want to thank you again for this time together today. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.